the whole experience was, seeing what we saw that night. Unfortunately, not one of the Marines made it, from that crash. And what we were told to do was to load the Marines into our Humvees and bring them back to base. And then that changed. And mind you, there's just so many different. It was there was a lot. There was a lot. It wasn't just bodies. There was a lot, and so it was an experience that will forever change me. And like Andrew said, unfortunately, we didn't fire around.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to Disarranged Talk Show. Joining you live from Be More on the D, your hosts, Andrew and Matt. Please like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello, sir.
What's going on, everybody? What's up, my friend? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm ready to whoop it on tonight. How about you?
Very excited about tonight's show. Yeah, very excited. So we've been planning this one for quite some time, and I think it's going to be a great show. People are going to get a lot out of it. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Welcome to Disarranged Talk Show. I'm your host, Andrew. Joined with me is my buddy, Matthew. This is episode number 43.
43. Yep.
We are coming up on 1 year of coming on live shows. We've taken a couple weeks off here and there, but
yeah,
coming into a 1 year, man. It's very impressive. I'm very happy for where we are. So with that being said, I want to do some housekeeping stuff and let everybody know what we've got coming up coming down the pike. Next week, we have an update. We didn't have this information last week, but next week, everybody, we have NHL star, PTSD activist, and suicide survivor, Mr. Clint Malachuk. Clint was injured in 1989 when playing, and a player collided with him in the net. And what happened was a skate came across his neck, cutting his carotid artery and his neck vein. One hell of a story. A lot of people, I'm sure, in our audience that are any type of hockey fans remember that. I know for sure I have his hockey cards.
Yep.
But we're pleased to have Clint on next Friday at 8:00. I believe it's the 21st, right here, YouTube and Twitch. And we're going to be discussing his battle with PTSD, OCD, and his incredible work that he does for the veteran community. So
incredible.
I invite everybody to tune in next week for Mr. Malachuk. Also, October 28th is the last show of the month, I believe.
Yes, it is.
We have the author of I Am Pitts. Mr. Dexter Pitts is a Purple Heart recipient and medically retired U.S. Army veteran. He proudly served in Iraq with the 10th Mountain Division and graduated of the American Military University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. After serving his country in the time of war, Dexter exchanged his military fatigues for a police uniform. I encourage anybody that's a first responder and military supporter to come in and tune in to that show. It's going to be incredible. We actually connect with him next week for his pre-show, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And also, lastly, before we get in and moving on, we're still looking for somebody that wants to hop on our team and can donate up to 3 to 5 hours with us and help us with our social media and kind of our how we want to communicate our vision. So I just had a.
See, that's why we need somebody right there. But
right there, I started thinking about all the things that need to be done. So if you know somebody that just wants to be creative, you really don't have to have any experience. Just somebody that supports what we're doing and can kind of add to a team. So. Yeah. If you can, please comment, shoot us a DM, or you can email us at disarranged1775@gmail.com. .com. So here we go, bud. So
All right. So, yep, ladies and gentlemen, this is my favorite time of the week. We got our week 6 NFL picks. All right. So this is a little different tonight. It's a Thursday night, so we actually get to pick the Thursday night game. It starts here in about 15 minutes. It's the Washington Commanders versus the Chicago Bears. Who do you got? And they're in Chicago, so it's a little chilly.
It's a little chilly. We're going the Bears.
All right. I'm going to take the Bears also. I think Commanders are on the downslope here. All right. First game up on Sunday, we got the Vikings in Miami playing the Dolphins.
Ooh, Vikings.
Good game. I'm gonna give the edge to the Dolphins. They get the quarterback back, and I think they're gonna rally around them. So next game after that, we got the 2-3 Patriots going to the Cleveland Browns, who are also 2-3.
Ooh,
for an AFC matchup. Who do you got?
Patriots.
I am going to take the Browns. I'm going to take the Browns. Yeah. So we're going opposite here.
All right, buddy.
All right. Next game on the docket is the San Francisco 49ers, who are holding strong at 3-2, going to Atlanta to play the 2-3 Falcons. 2-3. That's really not that bad.
I'm going Falcons.
Oh no, Niners are going to stomp a mud hole in them. There's no doubt. No doubt. All right. Next 1:00 game, we got Tampa Bay traveling to Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay is going to play the 1-4 Pittsburgh Steelers. I never thought I would say that. They've been so good for so long. And this is a really, really rough year for them. Who do you got?
Steelers.
Dude, it's a horrible pick. I'm taking Tom Terrific and Tampa Bay, baby. I'm a Michigan man. So
I'm that dude. I tell every episode that we do this. What do I tell you about him?
You hate him.
What else follows that?
No, you were mad because your girlfriend liked him. So big deal.
No, but listen, what I'm saying is I'm never gonna root for him. Still, like that's my thing. I'm not.
I'm sure.
not a supporter.
I'm sure he's gonna lose sleep. No, you're not rooting for him.
Well, I'm
sure it's
Giselle.
All right, next game on the docket is the Cincinnati Bengals at 2-3 going to the Saints at 2-3. It seems like everybody's 2-3. Who do you got?
Bengals.
I like the Bengals too in this one. I'll side with you. We got your B More Ravens going to the New York Giants, who are 4-1, dude. The 4-1 Giants.
This sucks because this only happens, both my teams are playing. I like the Giants. I'm from New York.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not from the city. Relax. But I live in Baltimore.
You're from Canada.
Okay. My God. Ravens.
Ravens. Okay. I'm going to take the Giants, man. The Giants just look great. And Saquon Barkley, like I said last week, he had pretty much a career day against Green Bay. They just look like a different team. Their coach much better. All right. Next game on the docket is the 3-2 Jets, which is even more surprising than the friggin' Giants. They're going to the 3-2 Green Bay Packers. Who do you got?
Packers.
I'm taking Packers too. Yeah. I don't care what kind of momentum the Jets have. They're not beating the Packers in Lambeau.
They've never really had momentum, but
they're 3-2. They've won 2 in a row, so that's momentum. That's called momentum.
All right, move on down.
All right, Jacksonville's going to play Indianapolis, the Colts. Who do you got? Jacksonville. Yeah, I'm going to take Jay Vegas on that one too. We got 2-3 Cardinals traveling to Seattle to play Seahawks. I might take the Seahawks too. Man, there's so many teams that are 2-3. We got the 1-4 Panthers traveling to LA to play the 2-3 Los Angeles Rams. I'm taking the Rams also. The Panthers.
Oh, bud, what's happening to us?
We had a bunch of split ones earlier on, so that's okay. All right, we got the 4-1 Bills, who are looking awesome right now. They're going to play the 4-1 Chiefs. This is the game of the week. This is the 425 game. Who do you have?
Chiefs.
I'm going to go Bills, dude. I'm definitely going Bills in this. I think they're overall better team. All right.
Legit.
Sunday night game. This is going to be unbelievable. I think it's going to live up to the hype. The 4-1 Cowboys without their starting quarterback are going to the 5-0 Philadelphia Eagles. Who do you have on Sunday Night Football?
This is the Cowboys.
Cowboys are going to Philly on Sunday night.
Oof.
Philly is 5-0 and Dallas is 4-1. They've won 4 straight. I'm sorry.
That's a big game. That's going to be a big game.
That's a huge. Yeah, if you would have listened to what I said, I said it was a big game.
Well, sometimes when you open your mouth, I completely zone out. We spend a lot of time together on this, man. So it's, anyways, I'm going Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Okay, I'm gonna go Eagles too. I think they're a better overall team. And then last game of the week is our Monday Night Football game. It is the 2-3 Broncos against the 3-2 Chargers. Who do you have?
Broncos.
I'm going Chargers, and that finishes up the picks. And we're gonna stay, but I want to stay in the Broncos.
And now your news and current events with Matt G.
So I'm going to stay on the Broncos because I want to highlight one Russell Wilson, who is the quarterback for the Broncos. So Russell Wilson complained, right, about Seattle, how he didn't get to run the offense he wanted to, blah, blah, blah. Complained his way out of Seattle. Denver gives up basically all their friggin' draft picks for this guy. I think it was $238 million guaranteed, right? And this guy looks like total trash to start the season. And so his response, so of course, Denver fans are pissed off, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they got catfished because this guy was supposed to be like the second coming, get him to a Super Bowl, and he's trash.
And he's trash.
He throws the ball like 20 yards down the field and can't even hit a receiver. So the fans are pissed at him. They're booing him. And his response, so he chooses to quote Winston Churchill, which is, if you're going through hell, keep going. That was Winston Churchill. So he's comparing himself to Winston Churchill, and he's going, no, you're going through hell, Russell, because you freaking suck. No, that's not going. You suck at playing football right now. That's why people are booing you. It's not a personal thing. Like, you're going through some trials and tribulations. You suck at your freaking job. That's why you're going through hell right now. So stop with the martyr shit and comparing yourself to Winston Churchill. All right. So let's move on to our next topic here, man. We got
your boy.
We got bag of bones Biden. He's next up on the docket. So President Biden and all the things that we have going on in our world, in our country right now, that are important. Like, gas prices are back up. I can't go to the market without getting 3 bags of groceries for $250, whatever it is, right? People aren't going to be able to afford their heat this winter. All that good stuff. But President Biden has something more important that he wants to get to, and that is changing the Confederate names on military bases. That's right. So he's going to spend over $20 million doing this shit. And it's going to take about 9 months. That's what they're saying. But this is what's important to him during this time is we got 2 million illegal immigrants crossing the border, right? Yeah. People can't afford groceries. Mm-hmm. People are working 2-3 jobs just to get gas in their car. And this jackwagon is changing names on bases. That's important. And what I always say on this is what's even scarier is that people, I guarantee, are applauding them.
Yeah.
And I get it. Okay. There's parts of our history that aren't good, right? I
Right.
get it. They don't need to be celebrated. There's parts that are good that need to be celebrated and parts that are bad that don't. But it's still part of our history.
Right. You
You
can't
cannot erase that.
Right.
You cannot erase that. So what's the point? You know what I mean? It's not like you're going back in school books and taking their names out. It's always going to be a part of our history.
Yeah.
Move the frick on. Who cares? Move on. Stop
Yeah,
spending money on stupid shit.
I don't get why that is
God
such a
damn,
focus.
man.
Who brought it up with all the things going on?
Oh,
in
you know
it
who
really,
brought it up. You know who brought it up. The left. This is the shit that's important to them. Changing names and wearing whatever, just stupid shit. Let's talk about real shit that's going on. People can't freaking buy groceries. They can't afford gas. Their freaking heat's going to be so expensive they're not going to be able to afford it. We got immigrants crawling out of freaking holes all over the place trying to get in this country. Neither him or Kamala went down to the freaking border to even see what's going on down there. And this jackass is spending over $25 million to rename freaking military bases. It's ridiculous.
it's dumb. It is ridiculous, but I don't get who justifies spending that much money and who's part of the voting process on that. But that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So that's all I got in current events, folks.
Awesome,
We're gonna leave it off at that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And everybody, thanks for joining us. And we're going to take a quick commercial break from our sponsors over at Neptune's Plumbing and Heating. If you are in the Baltimore area, give these boys a shot. They are awesome. Whoa, hey, how you doing?
What are you? Hello.
Man.
But that wasn't on purpose. Are you sure?
Yeah, that one we have actually used that. We haven't used that scene in quite some time, so that was unique how that happened. But again, we need help. Somebody help us. Anyways, thanks for sticking it out with us, everybody. Tonight we have a great show planned. We've got a great guest coming on, and kind of a new initiative Matt and I wanted to share with you guys. We always are trying to strive to make the show a little bit better and figure out how we can connect with our audience, you, and ultimately make a difference and reach out and touch people. And so Matt and I spent hours behind the scenes planning the show, and one day we got down a rabbit hole and we came across a very sensitive subject, but also something that needs to be talked about a little bit more. And it's been recently in the news in the last few months, is our military women being sexually assaulted and the process that goes behind it, about investigating it and bringing said individuals to justice. So
Right.
During our research, Matt and I came across a woman that's got a great story, and it really stuck out to us amongst all the ones that we ran across. So we ran across a woman by the name of Flo Shmorgoner, a medically retired United States Marine Corps veteran who was sexually assaulted while training in her job school, aka MOS school, for you Marine Corps hood rats out there. Flo has an incredible story that we wanted to share to help raise awareness to this topic, and also to let everybody know this is going to be an initiative for Matthew and I. We would really like to raise more awareness, help out Flo, and more individuals like her to try to get bills signed. And if you stick around tonight, you're going to hear an incredible story about resilience, triumph, and being let down by people that you thought you could trust, especially in an organization like the Marine Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Flo Shmorgoner.
Hey, Flo.
Tonight's guest.
Oh, you did that, Andrew. That's why we need somebody here. Holy cow, we got all kinds of things going on. How are you, Flo?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you guys?
We're
Good.
doing
thank
awesome. We're doing awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us. We've had the privilege I feel the last 48 hours has been kind of fast for everybody between work and trying to connect and everything. So we do appreciate your time, and it's been great having you go through the disarranged process. How has it been thus far?
Amazing. You guys are wonderful.
Awesome.
geez.
Awesome. Well, we really do appreciate that. So listen, Flo, I want to hop right into it. Again, thank you for coming on. I wanted you to kind of jump into the beginning of things and kind of share with our guests, where you come from and what led you to join the military, and ultimately what led you to join the Marine Corps. I think our audience is always curious about the female side of things joining the Marine Corps.
Absolutely. I grew up in Colorado in Aurora, and my uncle was in the Navy and the Army. He was in the Army during Vietnam, afterwards went into the Navy. I had quite a few friends that were in the Marine Corps or military, just otherwise. And coming on the end of high school, I was like, I am not made for college, because I knew I was going to go in, skip all my classes because they said I could, and then pay a lot of money to fail. So I was like, you know what? I think maybe I need some direction in my life.
Mhm.
And I had actually talked to the Army recruiter.
Uh-oh.
And one day he just never called back. And I was like, interesting. Okay, whatever. And I was an athlete, and I was like, okay. And of course, in my high school, there was the Marine recruiter. So I walked up, and they had their pull-up bar, and he's like, can you do a flexed arm hang? And I was like, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And I got up there, did the flexed arm hang, and he's like, when can we set up an appointment? I didn't know what that meant. I was like, yeah, let's do this. And what ended up happening was I wanted to go active duty. My parents didn't. And I was 17, so they had to sign.
Oh, yeah.
So we told them, sign the active duty one, and when something opens up, we'll switch her to the reserves. And then we just never switched me to the reserves.
Nice.
Funny how that works.
It was planned.
Yeah.
That's
yes,
awesome.
it was planned.
So all of a sudden, so now you join the Marine Corps, you go through boot camp, you're off to MCT, so you're off to 29 Palms. What was that experience kind of checking into? You're a Marine now. Now you're checking into your specialty school, and were you one of few or many females?
I was actually one of two that were in my MOS group. My situation was a little bit different. I actually fractured my hip on the Crucible, so I was a med hold. So I had spent 4 months on Paris Island, and it was just right. You're as a Maroon, like what could be worse? And also like with drill instructors everywhere.
Right.
And I was one, I want to say like 7 women that were on med holds, and I think we had total of 30 of us, something crazy like that.
Wow.
After going off to MCT, I started feeling pain again, but I was like, I'm not staying here.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got to 29 Palms, like I already knew I was injured. I was one of 2 women, and it was just daunting. Just to go from not knowing if I'm going to even have a career, if like I'm going to be able to pass a PFT, like forget first class at that point in my head. I immediately had this idea that I was not going to be as much of a Marine as everybody else.
Yeah.
And then checking into school, it was interesting. So it was myself and another woman there checking into the schoolhouse, and we were then separated, where you had your operators in the communications field, and then you had your technicians. So originally I came in, I think we had like 15 women and maybe 100 men, and then they separated us, and I was part of the technicians group. So it was myself and one other woman.
Okay.
And it stayed that way almost my entire time in 29 Palms, and I ended up being the only woman in my class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Narrowed down pretty quick then once you guys got separated out.
Oh, we went from having 15 of us to I was by myself very quickly.
Wow. Was that a unique feeling too? Like this, did you notice a quick transition during that time where you're like, oh wow, like this is different? Like, was that an adjustment?
It was just because obviously like MCT I had been around the males,
Right.
but I didn't realize how differently I was treated. It was definitely like if I would walk into the classroom, it would just like hush. Like that is so weird. I don't understand what's going on. I would get pulled aside more often. Like if somebody had a correction, I would get pulled aside, but like guys would go around with like megalo fade, and you're like, it was just very interesting, like right off the bat, because I was in a platoon full of females for a long time, and there were a ton of women there. And to all of a sudden being the only one, it was very weird.
Yeah.
That's weird. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I can attest to that. I went to 29 Palms for school. I'm a commuter skater. Also, I was a radio operator and a retired radio chief. So, yeah, we had one female in our class, and they were pretty scarce around that time. So, Flo, if you don't mind, we're going to get kind of into the situation, and I want you to talk about the events leading up to it. Were you with friends? Were you with just one single person? And how did the whole situation evolve?
So originally, the person that assaulted me was actually one of my best friends. When I was in 29 Palms, he was a class ahead of me, and he knew all the material. So I asked him to tutor me. We became really good friends. We got tattoos together. We would go, there was this little cafe called the Carousel Cafe, and it's been closed down now for many years, but we would go there because they had amazing waffles. I mean, like, we were really good friends. And up until that point, I always followed the rules no matter what. It was like if you were in a room with another male or someone of the opposite gender, the door is open, like unlocked, everything. So that was like always a big stickler for me. I was never a wild child. I always say I'm a good noodle. So I went to hang out with him that day. I don't even remember what day it was. Like that memory has been dissolved. The only thing that I remember like about the beginning of the day was like the smell of sunscreen in the barracks. And like, it was just so strong. So I knew, at least I can remember it was summertime. And it was just a normal weekend day. We were going to go hang out in his room. He was going to play Mass Effect, and I was going to watch Friends or The Office they had two TVs, one of his roommates, and I was just going to go hang out. And it was so common. Like, we did it all the time because we were such good friends that every weekend, pretty much, I just go hang out.
So when you're hanging out there, how did the events transpire as far as what happened? If you don't mind just taking us through the process of what you can remember and whatever you feel comfortable with, obviously.
Absolutely. So our barracks were set up a little bit different. A lot of the barracks in 29 Palms, the doors open to the outside. Like you could just walk out onto the catwalk and you're outside.
Right.
The barracks for the technicians, the doors opened inside. They were newer barracks. That's the ones they put us in. So we'd have rovers all weekend. The doors, you kind of walk in, there's a bathroom, and then there's the bunks and just that area. in the bedroom or in his room, his bunk bed was up against the wall, so like you couldn't see it when you walked in.
Right.
And then the TV's opposite end, and then his roommates were like the wall lockers in between, and then behind the wall lockers. So I went over there and started watching Friends. He was playing Mass Effect. He was on the top bunk. I was on the bottom bunk. At some point in time, I started getting sleepy, which I mean, it's 29 Palms. You're kind of going all the time. When you finally
Yeah.
get a weekend, you get tired. And I was like, I know this person. I feel safe in here. It wasn't even a second thought. So I kind of started falling asleep,
Mhm.
going in and out a little bit. And like I noticed at one point I woke up and he was sitting on a chair in front of me. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, you wanted to see the TV better. So I grabbed one of the like blankets on the foot of the bed. I'm like, I'm just gonna take a nap. Like,
Yeah.
I'm with good people, I'm with friends. I'm just gonna take a nap. It's not out of the ordinary.
Mhm.
When I had woken up, I realized like he wasn't in front of me at that point anymore. And then I didn't realize he actually started groping me from behind when and then I realized he's up here with me. From that point on, it's like a blackout for me. I cannot for the life of me remember how the actual assault was. Like, I do remember immediately afterwards, I felt like like my whole body felt just gross.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately just got up, went to the door, and that's when I noticed that the chair holding the door open had been removed and the door was locked. And I remember turning around because at this point, something wasn't right in my head.
Right.
I didn't quite understand what happened to me. But I remember saying, I didn't want to, and him saying, I know. And at that point, I left. I went straight to my room, and I think I tried to scrub my skin raw. I mean, like, I tried to take it off. I think I was in the shower for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
There wasn't time. It was just me scrubbing off that feeling. And
So what next after that, Flo, when obviously going through something that horrific, and at school it's completely different than being in the fleet, right? So you like you said, you were held up at Paris Island. You're trying to get through all this stuff. This horrible incident happens. Where do you go from here?
it didn't register in my head what had happened to me. I immediately stopped talking to him. I actually was isolated myself completely from all of my friends. I remember getting into like huge fights with my friends. But this is the one thing I do distinctly remember was when we were checking in, I don't remember who the UVA was. Like, every unit I've ever been to, I remember the UVA because that was
Mm-hmm.
pounded into us. And I like, as soon as I got to my first unit, I mean, that's the first thing they do is tell you who the UVA is, how to get in contact. And I don't remember seeing any of those posters in our barracks in 29 Palms. I don't remember seeing anything. So even if I wanted to reach out, even if I knew what had happened and realized, I don't think I could have.
Right. So when you left comm school, was there ever a sense, like when you got into the fleet, did you meet people where you felt comfortable enough to confide in them and tell them what happened, or did you ever have like a point in time where you felt like, okay, now I'm going to report this?
There actually was. There was a young lady that came to our unit from Okinawa. as an expedited transfer. And of course, everybody knows what an expedited transfer is. So immediately rumors were flying. This was beginning of end of 2015, beginning of 2016, rumors flying. At that point, when she had gotten and she was in my platoon, she had gotten to the unit, everybody treated her horribly. And myself included, like I was not a good ally to her whatsoever. I ended up going on a deployment in 2016. And even then, like something was brewing in my mind that something wasn't right. Like I was having nightmares, that was going through all of the symptoms of PTSD and still not sure what happened.
Yeah.
After I came back from my deployment in 2016, I ended up meeting and marrying my ex-husband. And I don't remember what TV show we were watching, but it had a scene of sexual assault that was very similar to mine.
Mhm.
And something just snapped in my head. Like something was like, that happened to you. And it took me a couple days. And I realized, like, I have been assaulted. That's exactly what happened. And I reached out to that young lady that was an expedited transfer. She was still in the unit. And I said, I need help. Can you point me in the right direction? And the next day, the UVA came to talk to me and we put down the report. And that was October of 2017.
Wow.
Okay. So you described a little bit what was going on. Like you met your ex-husband at the time. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, what was happening to you before the reporting even started? Was you had symptoms of PTSD? Was there trouble sleeping, things like that?
Absolutely. The first thing that I noticed was I had suicidal ideations. Like it was bad. There were mornings when driving to work, I was just like, just turn the wheel really sharp, like, and you're good. Like that was actively every single day. Every time I'd get into my car, it was just overwhelming. And then I sunk into a deep depressive episode. On top of that, my self-worth was so incredibly low. I hated myself. Just, I thought so incredibly little of myself. There were nightmares of the assault almost every single night. There was just nothing that was helping me, and I just kept spiraling downward. Drinking, it was so normalized that I didn't see it as an issue. But looking back now, I definitely had an issue with alcohol. No substance abuse, but it was definitely like, if the opportunity had arisen, I was so self-destructive at that point in my life. I was ready to dive into anything that would make me numb.
I think that's completely understandable for anybody that's kind of been through what you've been through. So thank you for sharing that. I'm interested to know, what was your specific turning point, kind of when you sat there and you were like, you know what, like I need to kind of seek justice and start seek justice for myself and hold this person accountable. Can you walk us through kind of when that was during your situation?
Absolutely. After I had reported, I actually made a restricted report. So nobody knew other than the UVA and the CO that someone had made a report. And then there was another expedited transfer from Okinawa.
Wow.
A young lady who was a lance corporal at the time. And I was working in the same detachment, same company as her, but different platoons. And as soon as I heard I went down there immediately because I just wanted to see if she was okay. And I walked in, and the staff sergeant was screaming at her. The sergeant was just completely ignoring her. The other junior, I mean, like, she was very obviously treated different. And that's when it hit me, like, even if nothing comes of it, like, you have to make it known that this also happened to you. You can't just sit here anymore.
What was that outcome when that initial icebreaker, if you will?
So it turned into a lot of meetings with, I was assigned a victim's legal advocate who I ended up getting one. And then after I spoke with NCIS and we did a recorded phone call, I got a different one, which was very uncommon, I found out, and not really supposed to happen. I also had, in the first unit I was with, I had 5 UVAs, which also isn't supposed to happen. I mean, it was honestly, like, the whole process was a horrible mess. Like, no matter how supportive all these people were, the amount of change, the amount of new people that heard, that it was an absolute disaster. But once I got my victim's legal advocate, it was time to sit down with NCIS. And the first thing I had to do, and this is before I went through all the therapy and the counseling, the first thing I had to do was sit in a room with NCIS, my victim's legal advocate, and retell the entire story. So inadvertent exposure therapy was not helpful at the time, but
Yeah, right.
they're like, we need to say everything. And it's like, here you go. And they said, we'd like to do a recorded phone call. I said, whatever you think is best. And we did do a recorded phone call, and it went a lot better than I thought it would. Having to talk to the person that assaulted me was horrible, and I was shaking the whole time. But when NCIS had prompted me to talk about the assault, he ended up saying, I'm sorry I hurt you. And NCIS was like, okay, cut it off. We have what we need. And me and my victim's legal advocate were very excited, is not the right word, but very hopeful that something would come from this. Nothing ended up happening, which was out of my control. But it was definitely a very difficult process. And even though we thought we had something to go off of, we still didn't.
Can you share with our audience can you share with them how the process works, so where it kind of goes in the chain of command, and how that system works, and where ultimately I believe the problem is, and why we want to raise awareness to this entire situation, because this part of it isn't right. Can you break that down for our audience?
Absolutely. So when you initially make a report with your victim's legal advocate, and then you go to NCIS and they conduct their investigation. Once the investigation is complete, the VLC will come to you and talk to you about, okay, where do you want to go from here? And your options are a court-martial. Let me correct that. You have the options to request these things.
Right. Yes.
So you can request to have a court-martial. You can request to have administrative action, and you can request nothing further. Then they just close the case. From that point on, whatever your request is will go to their not their commanding officer, but one step above, their 06. So this is an individual that most likely has never met them, has never seen them, and only knows them as what they see on paper and the allegations against them. From that point on, that is the individual that can decide where it goes from here. If they want to prosecute, if they want to do an administrative action, or if they want to do just nothing further. So it's definitely where the issue lies, is it's not up to the victim, which it should be.
So this is an, I mean, it's an, I know this, obviously because I was in the Marine Corps, and Andrew knows, but it's just incredible to me hearing that somebody who has absolutely no legal training at all can sit there with a file and make a determination on whether to go forward with certain administrative things or potential felony charges. It's just absolutely astonishing to me. And I can't even imagine how frustrating it was for you.
What was said when it was brought to their desk and there was an NJP option? What can you share with us? What was what was told to you?
Yes. So I chose the route of administrative action because my VLC was very honest with me, and he said, if you choose court martial, they're going to say some nasty things about you.
Right.
They're going to try to discredit you in the worst way possible. Be ready for it. And I was like, I'm not. Can we do administrative action? And he said, I'm going to put the request in. Let's see what happens. It comes back. They have denied that. Through the grapevine, from what my VLC had told me, was that Colonel had said, we don't just NJP rapists. So it was better just to do nothing than to do an NJP, or he didn't understand. I'm not sure, but that's what I had heard.
That's disgusting. I'm sorry you had to even hear that from a third party, and that's even a potential that was said. And that's thank you for sharing all that, Flo. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Flo.
It must take a lot to kind of even just bring up the emotional part. I know with the things that I struggle with, if I revisit certain things, that none of that happened to me, but I get overwhelmed, and I get a little worked up. So again, thank you very much. So let us know, like, how did you start coping with all this and moving forward? And can you explain that the actual like mental and physical toll kind of took on you?
Absolutely. One of the biggest coping mechanisms, like things I used to cope, was I actually had horses all my life. I grew up riding horses, and I owned a horse. I bought a horse when I was in 29 Palms,
No, it's cool.
Some people buy like a Mustang. I bought a real horse. And I would go as often as I could to the barn to see my horse. Unfortunately, my previous marriage wasn't necessarily a good one, so I was also coping with that. But the physical effects, like I wasn't sleeping, so I was also not doing my job well. I was running horrible PFTs, which then of course made my mental health even worse.
Sure.
It was such a downhill slope. And the young lady that had been assaulted, that was the original expedited transfer to our platoon.
Yep.
She looked at me and she said, have you tried therapy? She's like, have you tried going to therapy? I was like, I mean, no, I've done counseling. She's like, that's different. It's not the same. These are doctors that can actually help. I was like, you know what? Sure, I'm going to try it. And immediately after, I got orders to Camp Pendleton, to a combat logistics battalion, where I checked in and deployed a month later. So I received, after that deployment, that's when I started receiving actual therapy.
Okay.
It took more than 2 years after I reported the original assault for me to even have the ability to go to therapy.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, I would imagine, I'm no therapist by any means, but when trauma hits, it must take, there's an aftershock, it must take time to set in, and especially everyone, because we still live lives, right? We still have to go about our business. You were still under contract, right? Like, you still had to perform, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
So what now? Like, what's going on in your life? Like, share with us where you're at, how you're feeling, and how things are going for you.
Yeah, I'm in South Carolina now. I got
Okay.
as far away from California as possible, it turns out.
Yeah.
I actually went professional in the horse industry, so now
That's
I train people and horses professionally, which is amazing.
awesome. Very cool.
And
That's awesome.
I've I had honestly like left the Marine Corps so far behind me. It's like I still go to therapy through the VA, which because it never stops.
Right.
Like and that residual effects also never stop, but there's ways to cope. But now I just kind of own my own little small business, train people and horses, and just leave it all behind.
That's
That,
awesome.
that, that's awesome. Is there anything that you could maybe give to our viewers that if they're in a similar situation? I know that there are some of our viewers that are sexual assault survivors also that
Yeah.
watch tune in weekly. Is there anything that you can give to anybody that may be struggling, some advice or some words of wisdom?
Um, that I did not believe it got better, and oh my god, it does. Just do the CPT, the CBT, the exposure therapy, like let yourself feel those feelings and then
Mm.
on the other side it's so much better. Like it's just this weight that lifts off of you. Don't like it's scary and it's uncomfortable and just let it be scary and uncomfortable, but do it.
Awesome.
Uh,
Awesome.
Yeah, Flo, I just want to tell you before we let you go how wonderful it's been to get to know you, how brave and strong you are, and um, you are now a part of the Disarranged family. So you,
100%.
Thank you.
the door is always open, and you got two brand new brothers here. So
100%.
um, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Flo, if there's anything we can ever do for you, you have our information. We appreciate you being a part of the show, and we hope you have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank
Well,
you.
hello, everybody. Wow, that was great, bud. That was a really powerful story. I'm so glad that we got to meet Flo and that
Yeah.
she reached back out and we started growing this relationship together. I knew when we connected with her tonight it was going to be something special, and
Yeah.
her story I hope reaches people out there, whether it's tonight or down the line. I hope people make it through. It was a really good inspirational story.
No, it's fantastic that she's able to present that, and I think with people being able to hear that, especially those who might be in a situation like that on active duty, right?
Of course.
And just scared out of their freaking mind and overwhelmed because they're a female and they have 100 males around them that
Hmm.
you know it's uncomfortable. And look, let's not get it twisted too. It happens to males too.
Oh yeah, and we'll get into that.
There's a lot of sexual assaults in
Hmm.
the military that happen to males. So it works both ways. But what we are talking about as far as the bill and improving this legislation is to get that part that Flo talked about, where the commander had it in his hands to decide what to do. And it almost sounded, the way she described it, almost sounded like he really didn't know where to go with it. So he just kind of said, you know, and it's so disturbing to me. Like I said before, like no legal anything, and doesn't even ask for advice, doesn't even ask for like any kind of consult or anything like that, and just makes a freaking decision.
Well, what I would imagine he did is he read the stature and like went in within the laws of the UCMJ
Yeah,
and was like, well, it's outside that. So by this, we don't do that. And that, but that's the shitty part, is because he relied
yeah,
on that and didn't have any empathy for a human being to
right.
then push that aside and go talk to somebody of higher rank. And it's just crap. And
Yeah.
Anyways, we're gonna uncover some shit, dude, and I can't wait, and I'm excited about it. I hope we can help Flo and many other women come out and come forward and tell their story of triumph and survival.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it, buddy.
Yep. So yeah, if you're I guess what we can do is we can write our local congressman. We can go and petition for these things. We have to find out when this piece of legislation is actually going across to be passed again. But it's been denied since 2013, which is absolutely astonishing to me, that they keep this, under wraps and covered in that command setting and not allow it to be looked at by other people. It's just absolutely amazing to me.
We're going to definitely learn more about it, and we're definitely going to bring more attention to this topic. And as we learn about how this whole entire thing works, we are going to bring it to you. Right now, folks, I really would like to just remind you to like, subscribe on our videos. We're making a big push for 500 subscribers on YouTube. So if you could go over, all it needs is an email and first name and the last name, and you can have an account. It's easy. Hit that ding button. So every time that we go live, you guys know that you can come over and listen to us run our mouths. But we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We appreciate everybody's time. We understand that it's precious. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to our sponsors. We are Disarranged, and I hope everybody has a great night. And remember, everybody, a healthy network is a strong network.
Thank you for joining us. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.